And welcome into Poke the Bear, episode 73. Connor, I think 73 is one Charlie McAvoy. I think this is the Charlie McAvoy episode.
That sounds about
and now
right.
Now that I think about it, Connor, next episode will be 74, which will be the Jake DeBrusk episode, which could be when he gets traded. So, that would be a first. That would be like hitting the lottery in a sense, you know.
Considering what our timing usually is on this podcast, like that'd be a slight miracle if like we drop that and it's the same day that he gets traded. You know what actually would happen is we would record it, have it be like, oh, it's a Jake DeBrusk episode, and then he gets traded like the next morning. That would be like what would actually happen.
Yes, no, that would, or it would happen like right after, and we would be like, well, we got to record a whole new show now.
Yes.
So, but yes, anyways, that is Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofsky. Connor, what is up?
Evan, I've been better. How are you doing?
I'm doing better. How are you? You tweeted out on Wednesday that you were in COVID protocol with a very mild case of COVID-19. How are you? Give the people some insight into how you're doing.
At this point, Evan, I'm pretty much bored. Again, very mild case, which I'm very thankful about. I have to imagine that getting 2 shots plus the booster helped out quite a bit in that regard in terms of it being a very, very mild case. If you asked me what it was, it felt like a mild cold. So I'm on the upswing now. Pretty much the only thing I can't do is enjoy taste or smells that much yet. So I've yet to have a beautiful Dunkin' coffee. Even if I did, it would be probably a very unfortunate situation where I couldn't have that beautiful caramel swirl, those real, the aromatic smell of a beautiful Dunkin' Donuts. Have not experienced that in over a week, but what can you do? You roll with the punches. But all things considered, on the mend. Hopefully we'll be out of quarantine very shortly and be back at a Bruins game very soon, which based on this team's playing, it feels like I have not missed all that much.
You have not. Also, I said this to you before we started recording. They're out west. So it's not like you're missing a bunch of stuff in person, thankfully. It's out west.
I didn't miss my plane ticket to Edmonton. Don't worry, guys.
Shucks, damn it.
Yeah.
To go see them lose 2-1 in a shootout to the Canucks. Oof. But yeah, it's good to see you're doing better. Obviously, we all wish you the best. Hope you're well. People remember, I think we were doing Poke the Bear back when I was in quarantine. I didn't even have COVID. I was just in quarantine for close contact. This was before like those vaccines came along. It was all that stuff. It was I was in a hotel for like 2 weeks, I think. So people might remember how stir crazy I went in there. I can't imagine actually having it and not being in a controlled hotel, being in just like a room. So hopefully you're feeling better. It's building your character up. You know, it's
exactly. Antibodies now, between the 3 shots and actually getting COVID, the antibodies are yoked right now. So
antibodies are on another level. Yes. The antibodies are probably better enforcers for the Bruins than the actual enforcers on the team. Ooh, hinting at a topic we'll talk about later. I think I'm actually getting my booster right after we record this. I think I'm heading over and getting the 3rd shot. So hopefully I don't feel sick. Hopefully that's like I can avoid that. But somehow I know I won't. I'll
drink plenty of fluids.
drink
and also
the water.
don't have COVID, because afterwards I was like, oh, I felt like shit like 4 days afterwards. I don't think this booster's supposed to last that long. And I was like, oh okay, you know what, this might be. Yeah.
Well, one of my friends was just telling me that she got the booster and said, man, I felt so sick afterwards, but it was because I had COVID. So yes. I tested negative on Tuesday or Wednesday, so I should be A-okay. Anyways, we have real Bruins things to talk about. Bruins lost to the Canucks 2-1 in overtime, or 2-1 in shootout, excuse me, on Wednesday night in what was really a game. If you didn't stay up for it, let me tell you something, folks. You didn't miss zero. You missed nothing. And we get that again tonight, Thursday night, against the Oilers. Obviously, this will come out afterwards, but I still think the topics we talk about are going to be these are going to be kind of evergreen topics that I imagine we'll be talking about. They'll carry over. So the first one, and I think this is pretty good, but bad, or not bad, but Jeremy Swayman's playing out of his mind of recent. Ever since the calendar turned to December, the last 3 games, ever since the Black Friday game, he's been lights out. I think 94 of 98 saves and shots. He's been terrific. I mean, I think it was you who tweeted. He's basically gotten you the last 4 points that you've gotten, if memory serves. But it's also coming at a not so great time because Tuukka Rask is coming soon, and you can't put Ullmark through waivers, and you're not going to trade Ullmark. The only move is to send Swayman down to Providence. Hard to send Swayman down to Providence with a .922 save percentage. What do you do? What comes next?
It's one of those situations where every single turn we've had with this goaltending situation, it feels like a situation that already was going to be pretty tough, awkward to navigate, whatever word you want to use going into the year. Seeming every time, like, it seemed like there's a positive development, there's like another complication around the corner. So, like, at this point, I think we've all accepted that Tuukka Rask is probably coming back. And if you asked me like a few weeks ago if the best situation to kind of allocate those reps was to give Jeremy Swayman time down in Providence, I'd be like, it makes about right. That makes sense, right? I mean, he was at that time was hitting a little bit of a wall. I think his save percentage was like 907, 908. So give him steady amount of reps in Providence, get his confidence back while you have Tuukka Rask back up here. Great. Everyone more or less wins. I'm sure there's Bruins fans who just want Swayman up here all year round, but what are you going to do?
Can't say I blame those people either, but
of course.
Yeah, not much you can do.
But now you're in a situation where he's playing great. I mean, his save percentage, I think, it's gone from 908 to I think 922 in the span of 6 days. It's helped out quite a bit by that Predator shutout that he had a week ago. That would help the save percentage a little bit. A team that can't even play right now. But he's really come around and rebounded well. And again, it's not like it's a situation where like the Bruins are dying to send him down to Providence. Like in a best case scenario, you'd want it to probably be Rask and Swayman right now based on how they're playing, but you're stuck in a situation where even though the numbers and the production probably signal that Swayman's been the better goalie and we've talked about it before with how he plays, that even though he's had, he falls into a rut or two, it's a sign of a good young goalie that he doesn't let that kind of hinder his performance and he bounced back and he needs to play better. But if you look at the way the landscape of just this goalie core right now, once Rask comes back, what else do you do? Unless like something drastic happens where let's say like Olmark gets lit up tonight and he gets lit up the next couple of games and he's got like a 890 save percentage, then you're like, all right, we got to, I guess, roll a 3-man rotation and Olmark's just not going to get a lot of reps. Like that's the only other feasible scenario you can kind of look at. But if you had to just stick with two guys, is it fair? No, but it's probably Rask and Olmark is who you go with. And it's a tough situation because it more or less comes down to all of it when you weigh all the factors, just being like, this is what you got. Like, and it's not a great situation. And, we've talked before about, should it have been Swayman and Vladar? Should it have been Swayman and insert 35-year-old veteran dude willing to sign a 1-year deal, right? There's always them every single year. It's like veteran running backs in free agency for football, right? Like there's always those guys out there. Should they have done Peterson. That? Exactly. Yeah. Should they have Adrian Peterson in that? But you can go through all those different scenarios, but at the end of the day, this is kind of the hand that you've been dealt with Olmark and Swayman and now Rask. And the only kind of tenable scenario right now, at least barring anything super drastic, is Swayman down in Providence, which is a tough pill to swallow, especially if, let's say he pulls together another 2-3 really strong performances before Rask comes back. But other than that, what else are you really going to do? Like, I don't think you're moving Olmark with that no movement clause. So what other real options do you have?
You don't, and that's kind of where you're stuck. Is you would have to say we don't want Tuukka Rask back, which I think is dumb because you're getting him cheap and he's healthy, and I think that overall works well. I don't know, like that's the issue. We've said this all along. We said this over the summer. Like the worst case scenario is them both being average and not knowing which one to like play the other over. But now you're getting it where they were average, and it's like, oh, the Bruins need Rask back, and now it's like, oh, the one guy who is going to be like kicked out of that equation is playing out of his mind, which makes you wonder if the Rask thing has been kind of motivating for someone like Swayman. Like if he's like, no, screw you guys, instead of screw you guys, I'm going home, it's screw you guys, I'm not going home. So great South Park reference.
Let's print the t-shirts. That'll be when we do our Poke the Bear merch. That'll be Swayman with just a little pocker on.
Yeah, screw you guys, I'm not going home. But anyway, I actually do a pretty good Cartman impression.
Oh, it's pretty good.
I should move into voicing over for South Park. But I do think that at the end of the day, Swayman did pick a weird time to go off because he has gone off. And I don't know. I mean, it's such a weird situation. This is what we keep going back to this. Like, there's no right answer. The only thing is Swayman goes down to Providence, gets more reps, but why would you send a hot goalie down to Providence? So I don't know. That's going to be very interesting to see. The whole Tuukka Rask thing, I think, is you want him back. I just don't know when that's going to take place. It feels like it's coming in the next like week or two. But anyways, moving on. One of the other big takeaways from Wednesday night's game was Patrice Bergeron has a broken nose for like the 25th time in his career. It's really like 7th or 8th, but he says he's out of male modeling. Like I think some might disagree that he's out of male modeling, but whatever. We'll leave that up
is just punching holes in the wall. Not even the steering, ripping the steering wheel off.
He is a male model. But he wore a bubble for Wednesday's game. He will wear a bubble for a while, and Burrows, not Alex Burrows. What's the guy's first name? I'm totally blanking on his first name.
Kyle, right?
Kyle Burrows. It is, because it's Kyle Burrows. Basically cross-checked Bergeron in the bubble, right near the broken nose. Now, I don't know. It's hard to know what was going through the guy's head. Was he immediately thinking, oh, he broke his nose, let me hit him in the nose? Or was it more instinctual, like, oh, I'm just going to cross-check him near his face? Oh, that's right, he broke his nose, my bad. I don't know. Either way, you don't do that to another team's captain, especially Patrice Bergeron. And there was no response from the Bruins. Now, obviously, it was late in a tie game, but still, no big hits, no hard shifts, no chirping, no fighting, obviously. There's got to be some response. And Marchand was there. Like, this wasn't a case of like Nashville where Marchand wasn't even on the ice. Like, there was no response. And you have enough guys on that bench that should probably do something.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where I think you saw some pushback by people saying, it was a 1-1 game in the third period, what have you. Like, all right, well, you're not looking for like a full like Donnybrook like line brawl, right? But like again, you kind of said it. Like, where's the heavy forecheck on the subsequent shift? Where's like the heavy check? Where's anything like that makes guys think twice about hitting your captain and one of the more respected guys in the league? And I mean, you've got guys out there, right? It's not like we talk about the construction of the roster, and there's some issues with it, as I think we've talked about before, with how this team's built. But whether it be a guy like Trent Frederick or like Nick Foligno or something like that, you've got personnel in place, right?
Forbert.
It's not like Forbert. Like, there's guys there that, again, we're not looking for like you're doing like a Mortal Kombat, like, or get someone a Stone Cold Stunner on the ice, but like, where's like the pushback, or where's any of that response? Like, if Frederick's in the lineup, which he's been in the last couple of days now, when he's not, whether it be that game against the Predators where, he took like that inadvertent, what was like a headbutt more or less from Forsberg that broke his nose, like whether it's that game or this game against Vancouver, where's like a guy like Frederick in the mix that's not getting involved in a scrum and laughing on a guy's face? Like, where's the Frederick that you saw from, the first 10 games last year where everyone became enamored with him, right? Like, where he's not just dropping the gloves, but also like giving heavy checks and making guys think twice about, taking liberties with other players. So again, it's not like we're looking for like a full on like, brawl or anything like that, but the lack of like a response from this team that is already like trying to struggle to find its identity. It feels like it's pretty much a layup when like your captain's getting knocked around, of like, this is a team wide response. We can get behind it. It's easy to get everyone pulling on the same rope. Like, it's not like you're going to battle with Tom Wilson and having multiple guys drop the gloves against him. Like, just, being physical and countering a team that's taking liberties with your captain. Pretty cut and dry response, it seemed, and you're not seeing it yet. So it's very disappointing, considering they've got personnel out there that should be willing to step up, and whether it be that game against Nashville or yesterday against Vancouver, haven't gotten it yet.
It's funny, like, you remember, a lot of people are saying, oh, Bergeron seems more angry this year and last year too. And I think it's because he feels he has to stand up for himself in a way. Whereas, you had Chara before, and there were other guys in the lineup. Now there really isn't that big enforcer presence, as that's kind of gone out of the league. But even last year, remember when Brandon Carlo got concussed from that hit from Wilson, and the response from the team, like Bergeron went over and talked to Wilson, and Tenori dropped the gloves, and there were all these different things.
After driving up from, what was it, like Nashville or wherever he was going, like a straight
like
drive,
first assignment, you're fighting Tom Wilson. But he did it.
Yep.
He did it. And that was a big reason why the Rangers picked him up, was he's that kind of guy, he's that kind of teammate. And there was no response. And granted, you're not playing the Canucks again, so you're not going to go like find Burrows in the parking lot of like in Pittsburgh. But they're just, that should be kind of a thing, a wake up call. Like, hey, your captain got cross-checked right in his broken nose. Maybe there needs to be some sort of response to that. And again, as you said, it doesn't need to be a Donnybrook, doesn't need to be a line brawl, but hard hits, play on the edge. Again, Trent Frederick, you mentioned that thing, and we've been saying this off the air, over text and stuff. Every time he goes into a scrum, he's just laughing his ass off. And I get it, you laugh at guys, you try to demean them, but it's a terrible look to everybody else and to actually being an enforcer when you just go in smiling every time. And I just think that's a little bit of a bad look. Again, go in with, play with a little tenacity, why don't you? So, I don't know. I don't think the Bruins need to trade for or acquire an enforcer. That is not going to do the trick. I just think the guys you have need to stand up a bit, because I don't think these aren't tough assignments. It's just like forecheck harder, or, finish a check, or just friggin' put a guy through the glass. I mean, I don't know. Pick your poison. Like, do what you gotta do. How about the guy who was at the Canucks game that they kept showing with the Marchand jersey, who put his thumbs with the Canucks fans behind him? That guy?
I thought he was like a paid actor.
Yeah, he was. That did seem kind of like set up, but I don't think it was. I thought it was Spoke Z. I also think that was EDT outside of Twitter headquarters. I thought that could have been him. So
that could have been him.
Yeah, that guy was. I felt that guy was in enemy territory, but credit to him. I mean, that takes guts. I don't know if I could go into an opposing team. Like, I don't know if I could go to like a Yankees game with a Red Sox jersey on. I don't think I have the courage for that. I don't think I have that in me.
I think I just.
No, I don't think I do.
The problem is, like, you'd have that, and like you'd all be for like getting like some booze and be like, okay, yeah. The problem is like there'd be the one guy who's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. It's like, all right, dude, like, dude, like, seriously.
Yeah, like
I'm all for a little jeer, what have you, like, yeah, whatever. And then like there's that one guy who's like, I'm gonna make it my priority to go to jail tonight because I fight this kid with a Red Sox hat.
Or like he takes his beer bottle, smash it over the seat, has it like ready to go.
Yeah,
those are the people.
This is my moment. Yeah, no need for it. Please don't.
No, that's the thing. Like, it'd be more fun to do that and like play around with some Yankee fans and like have them be funny. Like, that like when Carabas goes to Yankee Stadium, there's probably a guy who takes it way too seriously and is like, dude, I'm gonna like burn your house down or something like that. And I was just like, what? So, anyways, yeah, I don't know how we got on this topic, but we did.
It's all the guy at the window. Like, it's just you gotta have boundaries, guys. Again,
it's crazy.
50% welcome bonus though, pretty good. Promo code CLNS 50.
CLNS 50. Don't forget it. Anyways, the Bruins having tough times scoring. Have we talked about this? I don't think we've talked about this before.
Time is a flat circle, Evan.
Time just it's like it's deja vu. That's what it is. And we are talking about, should they split up the top line, which I think we're both in agreement on this. Yes. What do you have to lose?
At this point, what else move is there? Like, if we go into this game on Thursday, and I'm going to say this, and it's going to happen, and it's going to be like, well, like Carson Coleman's in. Like, you guys have to do something more drastic than that. And I'm not trying to bury Carson Coleman, because like when he goes into the lineup, he does his job and he's very active, and but you need something more substantial to shake up these lines right now, because you're not trading for getting a guy from DeBrusk right away. Even if a move happens the next day or so, you're not getting him for at least a couple more days. You're probably not getting this, a guy like Hurdle or Miller or anything like that in the immediate future. So what do you have to do to really shake up these lines? Easiest way is to break up that top line, and whether that be, Martian and Hall swapping, which is probably the more unlikely scenario. I mean, I think the one people probably look at the most is Pastrnak Smith, which, hell, if you get that second line rolling a little bit more, because it's not only the fact that, you need to give a guy like Coyle more firepower, but you also need to get a guy like Taylor Hall going. Whether that, I mean, you saw that in when Marchand was suspended. Like, even though that top line with Hall didn't score, looked pretty good, right? Like, Taylor Hall looked a lot more engaged. He looked more like the Hall you saw during that 6-week stretch last year when he was with Krejci and Smith, where you had a legit guy paired with him. So, it's one of those things where down the road, again, we've said this before, they desperately need a 2C to push, guys like Coyle and Holla down the lineup. But for right now, as you try to find the next piece, it seems like the easiest, switcheroo or a way to really inject or shake up those lines is to break up that top line. So whether it's Pastrnak and Smith or Hall and Marchand, either one gives you a different look, and at the very least should give you, just more options throughout the lineup. Because again, it's not just the fact that I think Bergeron with either Marchand or Pastrnak is still going to be a very good line. You need to get that second line going, and especially a guy like Hall, who, that second line as a whole struggled against Vancouver, but Hall especially, was just brutal. Like, you need someone that really can get him going and someone that can maybe play with him in terms of his speed, which is where Pastrnak could work. Because you just need him to start bearing some chances, because you need him to get on a roll.
Yeah, it's funny. He missed a wide open one-timer on a 2-on-1. And what's funny is Trent Frederick started the play. Like, Trent Frederick got, I forget who passed the puck across to Hall, but he got that player the puck. And it's like, obviously we all say, well, Taylor Hall needs a legit second-line center. Well, that was a chance, and he just blew it. And I think that's one of the things where it's like, at some point, dude, you got to just bury your chances. Like, you're paid to bury those chances. You got to bury them, or you got to create your own. Like, that's got to happen at some point. I'm also surprised that with Joe Sacco as head coach, he hasn't tried to finagle things around. Like, if you give the inmates to run in the asylum kind of thing, like, oh, Butch isn't here, let's run wild. Let's change up the top two lines.
And then Bruce would be like, our podcast listeners would be punching the steering wheel. Well, I guess he splits up the Bergeron line. So I imagine he still has quite a bit of input.
Yes. I don't. Oh, Bruce, we missed your 5 calls about the lineup. Sorry about that. Oh, yeah. Time difference.
Joe Sacco is like the cop from the town where he just looks and just looks away as he sees the. Yep.
Oh, Bruce's call. Oh, none of us saw that though. No one saw Bruce calling there. Yeah, no one saw him calling. But yeah, I've been in favor of this since the start of the season. Like, I think putting Pastrnak and Hall together would be tremendous. I think you would see them both. Again, it draws defenders to one or the other. You have to focus on one of them, leaving the other more space. And I don't understand why it hasn't happened quicker. And again, we know that most players work with Marchand and Bergeron. Craig Smith, I think we know will work with those two. I don't see the issue with doing that. What do you have to lose? You're a middle of the pack team. Like, this is not like you're defending first place and you're scoring a lot and you want to try things out. You're not, actually. You are out of a wild card spot. You are struggling against teams that are not good. So, hell yeah, why not? I don't see the issue with that. And again, don't do it for a period. Do it for a game. Get a full 60 minutes under their belts and see what it looks like. And against Edmonton and Calgary are perfect times to try those things, except Calgary obviously defensively is ridiculously good. So maybe it won't be as easy that game, but
it also very well could be if a defensive-minded team like Calgary makes it a little bit tougher, whereas as opposed to throwing the kitchen sink at one line to neutralize them and knowing you probably got a pretty good chance of stopping them.
Now you got to handle 2. Whoa, crazy how that one works.
It's crazy.
It is math. I'm not good at that. But anyways, yes, they should split the top line. We discussed need more from Taylor Hall. That's for freaking sure. It continues to hit at this point, and again, the trade deadline is for a while now. But because Jake DeBrusk is getting dealt, the trade deadline for Jake DeBrusk has come earlier. So now we're talking trades in December, which is always fun. But this team needs change. This team actually does need to make some substantial moves because they should not be rebuilding. This should be a competing team. I know Mike Milbury said on WEI, I think Thursday morning, that they should trade Bergeron for picks or whatever, which I think is just outlandishly stupid.
Because I take a lot of solace in what Mike Milbury has said about anything GM related about a thing. It's also funny, every time he calls in, it's always usually some bullshit clickbait kind of headline anyway. It seems like he's wants to get his name out there. It's crazy.
Weird.
But, yeah, I'm not going to put a lot of stock into that.
Yeah, I also just find it hilarious when you think about it. I'm not even going to entertain this. Not entertaining it. Nope, sorry. I was going to go down that rabbit hole. I'm not. We have a certain amount of time, and it's not worth my time. Anyways, I almost went down that. That just goes to show. That goes to show. But no, I think that change does need to happen, and it's not trading Patrice Bergeron or Brad Marchand or David Pastrnak or whatever, but it is adding finding a way to add someone that can help in the top 6. That will require, whether that be picks or prospects, which you don't have a lot of, or finding a way to trade Jake DeBrusk for someone legitimate. And Elliot Friedman reported on Tuesday night in his 32 Thoughts column that they would not mind taking a chance on a young player, which, ooh, it's funny. It's funny, Connor. I was watching Nesson, or I was flipping around channels the other day, and there was an old Bruins game from, I think it was November 2018 against the Leafs. And they did a shot of the bench. It was like JFK, Ryan Donato, I think Anders Bjork might have been there. And I was like, imagine if like one of those guys ended up working out. I mean, great, Bjork turned into Taylor Hall, but still, like, so what kind of change do you think needs to happen?
Well, I think you need like immediate change for right now in terms of like what you have in-house to shake things up. And I think you need to, again, you can't wait until the deadline of March to make another move. And Joe Sacco kind of preached patience after the game against Vancouver, where it's, they're getting shots on net. They're just not generating quality chances. Sooner or later, luck's going to go their way. And I can see the merit of, like, the Bruins, I think, have been plagued by dreadful puck luck this year. I think, they're tops in the league in expected goals and what have you.
So, truthfully, like on Wednesday night, McAvoy hit the post. Holla scored offsides, so there were like those instances,
and they've run quite a few like off the post and off the crossbar. And like, listen, they're getting good chances, and they're not bearing them. Sooner or later, you have to imagine like the fortune's going to go their way, but that also doesn't mean you can just kind of tread water and like flip Carson Coleman in and out of the lineup and hope that's what's going to get you through this kind of malaise right now, right? Like you're still in a wild card spot. You've got 3 teams ahead of you that look much better than you right now. Like you can't keep on kind of just waiting for the pucks to bounce your way. Like when there's other options you can do, whether that's in-house and that's splitting up the top line, whether that's, giving a guy like Jack Ashan a look, or a guy like Oscar Steen a look over guys who aren't producing. Like I think there needs to be something done right now to, kind of shake things up and send a message across that, we're getting good looks, but like we need to convert on these chances. Like we're still not, you can look at all the expected goals, all the shot share metrics, everything like that. And it paints a picture of a team that is better than it should be, which I think is the case. I think the Bruins are probably better than they should be, whether that's how many more wins they'd have if Rask was in net, or if they've had just a few more pucks go their way. Like I think they are a good team. A contender right now, probably not, but they are a good team. But I think you still need to, the onus is on you to still put your best foot forward to kind of shake things up and set the message across. So whether that's splitting up the lines or what have you, there needs to be something done, because the status quo of just waiting for the numbers to finally fall your way. Who knows? Maybe it works out, but right now it seems like you can't keep on treading water and wait for it eventually to fall your way. Not with you kind of clinging to a wild card spot right now and 3 teams ahead of you that, I don't know about you, Evan, doesn't look like they're really slowing down anytime soon, right? If anything, they're going to get better. Like Tampa's going to get Kucherov and Point back. Like these teams are going to keep on getting better, and you have to whether it be making moves further down the line or shaking things up right now, you have to do something to get guys more pulling on the same rope.
I mean, again, if the numbers are not, if you're not going back to the mean against the Canucks, you got real problems. So to me, I look at it, and again, it comes down to switching the top line. Like, what is there to lose? Again, and it's even a lot of these games they've won recently have been because of the top guys stepping up on power plays or, at 5-on-5, but no one outside of that is doing anything. And I think, again, it's the same issues every single year. The secondary scoring isn't there. And I said this at the beginning of the year, like, if guys like Foligno and Haula and Nosek and those guys, you've gotten better depth-wise, and if your lines actually produce, you're going to be a whole lot better. And I think I'm still correct in that if their third line was producing more, or they had a set for, their second line was producing more, Taylor Hall was producing more, you're a much better team. But that has not been the case. So a lot of things that are not amazing in the land of the Bruins, but it's December, so things will continue on. They will play the Oilers. They did play the Oilers on Thursday night. They'll play Calgary on Saturday, and they're home. They come right home, and they'll play the Golden Knights. So things do not exactly get easier for your Boston Bruins. But to follow all that stuff, going over to Boston Sports Journal, what can the people look forward to over at Boston Sports Journal?
Yes, we'll continue to break down these late night games. We'll have plenty of content up both immediately in the aftermath of these games and stuff in the morning for when you wake up. If you don't want to stay up and watch these largely dreary games, as was the case against Vancouver on Wednesday. So we'll have all that stuff over at BSJ. So subscribe to BostonSportsJournal.com. Want to follow me on Twitter? You can do that at ConorRyan_93.
Go do all that. For CLNS Media, I'm Evan Marinofsky. That's Conor Ryan. You Poke the Bear listeners. Have a great rest of your day.